everyone.
Hi.
Okay. I should feedback. So lunch today is sponsored by Deanne, who is with FBI Group Inspections. So I'd like to welcome her up really fast, because what they do pairs really nicely for people who are doing inspections along the intercoastal waterway. So,
Deanne with FBI Group, which is Florida Building Inspection. So I like to say we're the good FBI, not the bad FBI. We want us on your side. But yes, I love to partner with Trish in this class. I think this is like my 4th or 5th time. I don't know. I've kind of lost count. It's a great class, by the way. You guys are going to learn some amazing stuff. But about Florida Building Inspections, I have a handout. If you could open it up really quick, I want to talk about a couple things that we do. We also do residential and commercial. So I don't know how many commercial agents you have in this office, but we also do commercial. And a couple of things I wanted to talk about with you is that first little flyer. I go off on a left turn for a minute and talk about utility helpers. Has anybody heard about utility helpers before? Awesome. If you're not using utility helpers, you need to be using utility helpers. They do a great service for your buyer. It makes you look like a superhero. So what utility helpers is, it's a concierge service. It's going to set up all the utilities for your buyer if they so choose to. It's a free service for them. Utilities, water, sewer, trash, pretty much everything that you can think of, and it makes you look like a superstar. And we partner with them, so it comes with all the inspections. We do also do your WDO. We can do your pool, your docks, your seawalls. We have 11 inspectors, and all of the counties that we serve are on the flyer. If you have any questions, I grabbed the wrong cards. Those are like the generic cards, so I would like for you to write down my name and number. My name is Deanne, Deanne. Thanks. And my number is 727-686-3033. If you have any questions about the inspection process or what we do, if you're kind of new and you haven't gone through an inspection process, I'd like to walk you through that. And the one thing I want to mention before I give the floor back over to them is, please go to our website, which is flbigroup.com, and you go to, let's see if I can remember, it's their home inspections, and you click down on services, and you can go down all the way to the bottom. There's a sample inspection, so you can go there and sample, go through and look at one of our inspection reports. And there's also a little quick video of what an inspection is. It's a great tool to send your buyers to that, because, as an agent, it's kind of your job to help your buyer. You need to set the expectation of what the inspection is and what it kind of isn't, and set them up for what they're in for. So this video is very helpful on helping you do that with your client, so there's no misinformation. So is there any questions before I step down? Yes?
Are all of your inspectors, they have super access?
Yes, they all have super access, and we are also InterNACHI certified. So that's something we're proud of as well. There was a couple other ones.
How quickly do you turn reports?
Same day reports. We can usually get you in for an inspection within 24 to 48 hours. Same day report. If you have a mold kit done, that's usually about 48 hours. Sometimes 24, but we always like to make sure you have at least 48 hours for that mold, because it goes off to a lab. So you need a little more time for that. And I think there was one more hand.
I've got a question. If you have to do a re-inspection, like for a roof, you charge for that?
Just like a roof cert?
Yeah, replacements have to be done.
If there's a 4-point.
It's gonna still need the 4-point wind mitigation.
A repair after the work.
Oh, so after repairs are done, yes, we come back out. There's no charge for us to come back out if we've already done the inspection. So you're talking about after repairs?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and actually I'm glad you brought that up, because on our website we have a repair request section that you can go from the report, and you can slide it over to the inspection repair request, and it creates it for you, and then you can send it off that way, and then it attaches to the inspection report. So it's really easy.
So they take the pictures and everything that's needed for the 4-point for the insurance company and all that when they go back out.
Well, that depends. I mean, most of the time we do the 4-point with the inspection. So, but if you, are you talking just for the 4-point?
Well, if you have to replace a roof,
We're talking about in case of repair.
So not an inspection?
no, you did the inspection, it was determined the roof had to be replaced. You have to go back out and re-inspect when the roof has been put on.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, because then you're gonna need an updated 4-point.
Yeah.
So yes, we would have to go back out and update the 4-point. Because the insurance is gonna want the new 4-point with the new roof. So yes, we would come back out.
Same cost or additional cost.
To come back out after repairs, there's no
Yeah.
fee. I mean, unless you've got this long laundry list,
Yeah.
but if it's just a couple things, you know, a lot of the times we don't even have to come back out. You can just send pictures. We don't even have to mess with bothering the client.
Do you guys inspect wells?
No, well, and septic, that's, most inspectors don't. It's a whole nother beast. Just like I was talking with Trish, where we do the docks and the seawalls, but we do the visual, we don't actually do the dive. That's a whole nother beast also. You usually, I like to recommend Gulf and Bay Marine for that, because I know they do it. So if you ever come across that. So, can I help anybody else with any questions? Awesome. Thanks for coming and make a look at the tacos.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you for coming, and this is growing your knowledge in the beach communities with Trish Bannister and Chase Walseth. So here's a little bit about us.
I put you first.
I've been in real estate for 10 years, in sales, real estate for 10 years. I am an agent and the director of growth for the Walseth and Lockhart teams. I primarily focus on short-term rentals and investment type properties on the beaches. It's sort of my niche market. Trish.
And I'm Trish Bannister. I've been in the business, actually, now I thought about it, I think it's like 8.5 years now. I am the team leader for our Walseth team out of the Largo office, and we just started an expansion team here. So I'm also the team lead for the expansion team here as well. And again, my focus is mainly the beaches, short-term rentals, and everything around there.
A little bit about the Walseth teams. We're part of Gary Keller's top 100. So we go to the mastermind with Gary. We're one of the top teams in all of Pinellas County. We have 4 locations. So we're at the Gulf Beaches location, which is in Treasure Island. We're also at the downtown St. Pete location. We have an expansion site, which Trish just mentioned, at Largo Bel Air office. And then we have a new expansion site here in Palm Harbor. Last year, we did about 108 million in volume, helped serve 180 families. And we have 16 agents, 5 admin, 2 ISAs, and we're always looking for top talent to join our teams.
Yeah. And anytime during the presentation, if you guys have any questions, we're very informal. So just, let us know, ask your questions.
That being said, we have a lot to cover today. So I'm gonna start with kind of an icebreaker here, and Trish doesn't even know about this. She doesn't know my secret papers here. So I want to ask everybody some questions just to find out what you may or may not know about the beaches. So in the past 365 days, we've had some record-setting numbers all along the beaches. Anybody know what the top residential sale is in all of the Pinellas County beaches in the last 365 days? Anybody? Somebody want to take a guess? How much?
2 million. Oh, 3. 4 million. 17 million for one property. 17 million.
One property residential.
20
Oh, God, yeah. 10.3.
Ooh, that guy's close. We have 10 million on the nose.
Wow.
Brand new construction, single family home in Indian Rocks Beach. 5,800 square feet.
It was Derek and Richard, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Derek and Richard. Yep. Brand new construction. They have another one that's probably going to beat that by 100,000 or something. It was listed for a day. It was a perfect fit for somebody. It was listed at 9.995, and I think they just creeped it up over 10 million to say they had a $10 million sale.
Who's the builder on that?
The builder was, I want to say it was Alvarez Custom Homes, but I'm not sure, and it doesn't say on here. So I'm not 100% positive. Anybody have a guess? This is a real tough one. What the most expensive condo was anywhere on the beaches in the last 365 days?
2.5.
How much?
2.5.
2.5? More. We had a condo more than that.
7.8.
Higher than 7.8?
50.
Less? More than 8?
13.5.
Less? 9? More than 9? 9.5 million. It was listed at 10.5 million. It was residences at Sand Pearl, which is a phenomenal complex. I mean, concierge, room service, the works. It was a 5,300 square foot penthouse condo. 4 bed, 3.5 bath, just stunning inside. Sold for 9.5 million.
What a
Did it
game.
have the sign that said I'm
Yeah, really.
inside?
Yeah.
What is the HOA
Condo
fees?
HOA fees on that are $4,100 a month.
Oh, yeah.
$50,000 a year in HOA fees.
Yes, if you have to ask, you can.
Right.
Yep. Another couple of quiz type questions. We had, anybody know what just a regular or the least expensive piece of dirt on the Gulf of Mexico costs?
Wow.
Talking maybe 40 feet of frontage, 50 feet of frontage, directly on the Gulf of Mexico from St. Pete Beach to Clearwater Beach. Anyone know what
2
that
million.
costs? Yeah, pretty close, yeah. So the least expensive that I found was 2.6 million. It sold as a package of properties next door to each other. 2.6 million for 40 feet of frontage, 3.1 million for 60 feet of frontage. And then we had an offer on one that was 50 feet of frontage in Treasure Island for 2.7 million. So that's basically tear down value for a single family home, not commercial zoning, anything like that. You're looking at just the dirt right on the Gulf of Mexico. 2.6, 2.7 million is about going rate for that. There's currently one for sale in Indian Rocks Beach for 3 million right now. I don't know if it's tear down. The house is decent shape, but it probably highest and best use is to tear it down since we have a $10 million new construction sale. So you buy the dirt for 3 million, you put a $2.5–3 million house on it and sell it for 9 or 10 million. It's probably what a builder is going to be doing. Couple more really quick ones and then we'll move on. So this is on the beaches. This doesn't include like St. Pete or on a waterway. This is anywhere on the beaches. So you look at the map up there and it's from Clearwater all the way down to St. Pete Beach. What was the least expensive waterfront single family home in the last 365 days?
825.
825, you're not far off. 750. Yeah, 747,000. 2 bed, 1 bath, Madeira Beach on this water frontage. You can barely fit a kayak on this. Not a boat slip, not a boat lift. You're on a tiny pie-shaped sliver lot, 747,000. I remember my dad and I were on his boat during COVID, and we were kind of laughing to each other, and we're like, "What do you think? You know, how long before every single one of these properties is $1 million? It's just a million. We're like, I don't know, maybe 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. I don't know." And guys, we're there. We're right there. Like, if you want a habitable single-family home on the beaches, on the water, I was starting at 875, 900,000, and it's a small one. It's probably 1,000, 1,100 square feet. Anything halfway decent is now over $1 million to be on the water.
Or even quick 2 blocks.
Yeah, some quick stats. Of all waterfront single-family homes that sold in Pinellas County on the beaches, our averages across the board: 3 bed, 2 bath, 2,500 square feet. Average list price $2.2 million. That's an average price per square foot at $840 per square foot. Average close price was $1.9 million for $767 per foot. And average time on the market is about 41 days.
Fun facts.
Yes, fast fact.
Yes.
So today we're going to cover the barrier islands. Our beach communities are also known as the barrier islands in Pinellas County. And that is, what is it, 11 municipalities?
11, yeah.
11 municipalities from Clearwater Beach to St. Pete Beach. There's lots of little nuanced neighborhoods in there. So when we say municipalities, it means they have their own government. You know, Sunset Beach is its own community within Treasure Island, but it's still Treasure Island. It's part of the community.
So within the 11 different beach towns, you have 5 different zip codes. So you have 33767, 33786, 33785, 33708, and 33706. So typically when I'm doing a search in the MLS and I have somebody who's just looking for all the beaches, I just pop in just those zip codes and I go to town. One thing is our barrier islands are actually, they're 25 miles long from start to finish. And like Chase said, they're each their own municipality, along with each one has their own zoning laws too, which makes it really fun.
So we're going to start all the way up north at Clearwater Beach. Typically Clearwater Beach, you know, and there's a bunch of different subsections of Clearwater Beach. I don't know if you can see the annotations here, but
I'll be Vanna.
all right, we have Clearwater Beach Central. We have Island Estates, which is sort of not really the beaches, but it's also a community within Clearwater Beach. We have Clearwater Beach Pier and Marina. This is where Pier 60 is. We have Clearwater Beach Walk.
For why I found the buried treasure.
Yes, yes. We have The Pass. And then we have my favorite, St. Pete.
And then he forgot to mention North Beach up here. As
Oh,
well.
that's right. Yeah. Mandalay. Yeah. So Sand Key, even though it's not fully connected to Clearwater Beach, it is still municipality-wise, it's Clearwater Beach. It's a subsection of islands with monster high rises as high as 28 stories, I think.
Yeah, I think the grand is, right around there.
27, 28 stories.
Yeah.
Yep. Most properties on Sand Key are huge condos or townhouse buildings. I don't think there's any single family homes in Sand Key.
I don't think there is either. Then you also have Sand Key Beach right here, which is a skate park as well, that you can pay to go in and park and all that good stuff.
So Trish, what brings people to Clearwater Beach?
Oh, go back to so one of the things we talk a lot about are rental restrictions within all of our different municipalities. One thing, as I wrote up here, when you guys are doing a search, if somebody asks you about, rental restrictions, if you go to pinellasrealtors.org /short and then -term -rentals, it will pull up a page that lists all the different towns. So you can click on it and we'll tell you what the rental restrictions are. So it is a great little resource for you.
Awesome resource.
Yes. I think we use it all the time.
We use it all the time.
But with rental restrictions in Clearwater Beach, they are, with single family houses, they are a 30-day minimum. One thing with Clearwater Beach is they actually have somebody who actively is going out to see if anybody is breaking the rules on that. There are some areas in North Beach up here. When they first started building up there were no rental restrictions. And there were people that were using them as short-term rentals. When they did change the rules, because they were existing short-term rentals, they were grandfathered into it. So that is the one thing that you'll see every so often, that this can be used as a short-term rental. They will pretty much post it loud and proud when that has been grandfathered in. You'll know it in the listing. But other than that, the rest of them are a 30-day minimum.
So when we say rental restrictions, we are primarily talking about residential neighborhoods. So there are always exceptions to the rule. Most of the time up and down Gulf Boulevard, you're going to have commercial zoning or some version of CTF, commercial tourist facility zoning. Those are all going to be nightly type rentals. But primarily when we talk about rental restrictions, we're talking in a residential single family neighborhood. So Clearwater Beach is the same as Clearwater proper. It's a 30-day minimum rental for the most part. Yes.
When they're grandfathered in, does that follow the house, or when it's sold, will the new one then have to follow the new guidelines?
It'll follow the house.
All that.
But I do believe, but don't quote me on it, I think it has to still continue short term. I think
But whatever
once,
switches
Right.
to a.
Somebody buys a short-term rental that's grandfathered in and then decides to live there for 2 years and not use it, it's probably not gonna pay it.
and pretty much you're gonna find your single family houses in Clearwater Beach, you're gonna find them North Beach, the Mandalay area, and then also on Island Estates.
Now,
That CTF, could you repeat that? You said commercial tourist facilities?
yes, correct.
What did you say about that?
So most beaches, all beaches have areas that are zoned commercial or commercial tourist facilities. They all call it something else, CTF, CT, CT1, CT2, CT mid, whatever it is. But if it's zoned commercial tourist facilities, you can think of that as hotel. So those zoning areas are going to be restricted to nightly minimum rentals. It's going to be very hydrographic, very in and out like a hotel. The only thing that can further restrict the CTF zoning is, let's say you put a condo complex in a zoning area that is zone CTF. That condo complex would be able to do nightly rentals. But the HOA may further restrict and say, no, we're only going to allow 7-day rentals here. And that's where you'll see a lot of these properties on MLS. It'll say 3-night rental, 4-night rental, 5-night rental, 7-night rental, 14-night rental. And the HOA is able to further restrict what that CTF zoning allows. Yeah.
And one of the things with Clearwater Beach, what you'll find is a majority of the condos there are going to either be a 3-month minimum, a 1-month minimum, or a 6-month minimum. There are very few properties within Clearwater Beach that are short-term. A lot of them are what we call condo hotels that were set up to be purely investment properties, so they can't be homesteaded. There's one that's along the pass that is a 2-week minimum. Where's the name of that one? Orange Building, you've sold in there. But that's a 2-week one, and then again, Harborview Grand and Sand Key is it a 1-week or a 2-week?
Oh no, Harborview Grand is the orange one.
Oh, okay.
About in Clearwater, that's a 1-week minimum.
And
And then there are 2 buildings in Sand Key that allow 2-week minimum rentals as well. One is Lighthouse Towers and one is
That's right.
Crescent Beach Club. Other than that, they're 1 month or longer minimum rentals for the most part. So, okay, keep going. What brings people to Clearwater Beach?
Oh, the beach, the food,
Ooh.
Frenchies, Crabbies. And one of the things that, we talk about when we talk about you guys being the expert of the beaches, a lot of it is knowing what's around there. Pardon me? So, and that's why we made it was important to shout out some of the restaurants in there, like Coretta's on the Gulf. The sunset views there, if you haven't been there, are incredible. Blinkers, hands down, I think is one of the best steakhouses in Clearwater Beach. It's really up and down the beaches. The only other one is the 1200 Top House down in St. Pete Beach. Clear Sky, of course, the Mimosas and Bloody Marys. Who doesn't love that? Island Way Grill. And then there's places for sunset cocktails. There's a new $3 brewery just off of Mandalay. And there's just a lot to do. So a lot of people, when they're calling you about properties or investment properties, a lot of times they'll lean towards Clearwater Beach because there's so much to do. But again, unless they're looking to live year round, it's hard to steer them there for short-term rental just because there's not a whole lot.
Yeah. So one reason that we do this is we break down each one of the municipalities on what's popular there, what's famous there, what's there to do is agents have biases inside of them all the time. I do, Trish does, we all have our favorite beach, our favorite spot.
Mine changes as I drive through them. It's my favorite. It's my favorite.
And if you're not knowledgeable about all of the communities, you tend to steer your buyers towards what you are comfortable and knowledgeable about. This is part of the reason that we put this class on, so we can continue to learn about all the beaches, because I don't want to pigeonhole somebody into saying, oh, you have to be in Madeira Beach, because we don't find something in Madeira Beach. We have to expand our search outside of those areas, and you should be knowledgeable and professional and be able to talk in an educated manner about every one of the beaches.
The nice thing is you might be starting up at the North Beaches, but then your buyer finds something down the South Beaches. But if you primarily work in the one, then you're not going to be able to be the expert when they get, when they go down south. Because we all know we start in one area and the next thing you know, we're in Ruskin.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to 33786. I think it's the smallest of the zip codes among the beaches, and this is the Bel Air. It's Bel Air Beach and Bel Air Shores. So let's start with Bel Air Beach. Bel Air Beach is residential properties only. They do not allow any commercial other than what, a couple of older grandfathered in properties on the Gulf side. Other than that, there's really no commercial in Bel Air Beach. It's very much like Reddington Beach. There's 4 fingers under the Intercoastal Waterway with waterfront single-family homes. Rental restrictions are pretty restrictive.
And this is where it gets fun.
Yes. So, Bel Air Beach's official stance on short-term rentals are from time to time for not less than a 3-month minimum. That is what their municipal code says. From time to time, but not less than 3 months.
That even makes
Yeah, wonderful. So like I said, every one of these municipalities has their own language, wording, nuances. That basically comes down to they're not short-term rental friendly. They're not really even that rental friendly.
No, and they're not sign friendly either. Just
No, they're not.
That, we're Keller Williams. We like to make it vomit open house signs, right? We want everybody to know we're here. Well, Bel Air doesn't want people to know that we're there, and they will take your signs down and throw them by the dumpster by their city county buildings.
If you're ever missing signs, the dumpster by the city hall building, or if you're really, really nice and you can beg, sometimes the code enforcement officer, stores them in a storage shed and like 200 signs in there.
Yeah, our team has lost a sign or two.
Is that the only area that don't allow signs?
No, there are quite a few. They're very restrictive though, so you need to be careful when you're in Bel Air Beach.
Yeah, they're the ones that take down. I think the Dira is another one that will take down your sign sometimes.
Next community is Bel Air Shores. This is the smallest municipality on the island. It is 1 mile long. There used to be 61 single-family homes. There are now 60 single-family homes. Somebody tore down 2 and built 1. So there are only 60. They are all on the west side of Gulf Boulevard. They are all on the Gulf side. And they are all single-family homes. The highest recorded sale ever on the beaches happened in Bel Air Shores. Ryan Howard of the Philadelphia Phillies sold his monstrosity castle of a property.
I mean, it had a
23,000 heated square feet, 37,000 square feet under all the roofs. It had a lazy river. It had multiple pools, and it is stunning inside.
Is that the picture right there?
Yeah.
Yes, sold for 16.5 million.
And that was before COVID.
Before COVID,
Yeah.
and not even allegedly, there were offers that would have been higher than that had they actually marketed the property for sale. There are
property they showed on the someone. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to Ben Mala's like YouTube and stuff like that, you'll see him like he's floating down the lazy river talking about the stuff.
It's such a cool property, but yes. So most of the lots in Bel Air Shores are larger than the rest of the lots. I think the smallest lot is 80 feet of frontage, whereas your typical lot up and down the beaches are about 50 feet of frontage. Bel Air Shores average, we're talking about dirt sales being 2.6, 2.7 million. I think a tear down in Bel Air Shores is probably hovering around 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 million. So they're selling for $1 million more than where other properties are, if they come for sale, and they very, very rarely do.
And one thing, there are no trolley stops in the Bel Airs. And there's also very limited public parking. So you actually have to have a parking permit to park in the lots there. And that's one of the things when somebody is talking about where they want to live by the beaches. If somebody is like, I do not want to be around tourists, I want it to be very private. I steer them to Bel Air because out of all the beaches, it's going to be the closest to a private beach that you can get. along with, again, the most private of the communities. Yeah.
Move on to 33785, Indian Rocks and Indian Shores.
Which is up there is one of my favorites. I will say one of my favorites. It's like your children, you know. So Indian Rocks Beach is a mixture of single family houses and condo communities. With the single family houses, there is no minimum rental restriction. Back in 2011, I think is when it was that if cities did not have it into their city laws about short-term rentals, if they added them after a certain point in 2011, the city, they couldn't uphold the rule at that point because the state said no, homeowners can rent out their houses if they want to. So because of that, there's just been some changes. I know Greg Millar from our office had a class here yesterday that talked about some of the changes in the short-term rental restrictions. We'll kind of touch on that a little bit, but condos in Indian Rocks Beach, a vast majority of them are either a 1 week minimum, 7-day minimum rental, but you have some of them that are a 4-day minimum and some of them are nightly as well. So
same with single family homes in Indian Rocks Beach. If you're a single family home in Indian Rocks or Indian Shores, the minimum nightly rental is 1 night. That is in all residential neighborhoods. And even though Greg talked about some of the changes coming up, one thing that they are not able to ever change are duration and frequency of rentals. So they will never be able to restrict it to 3 nights or 4 nights or 5 nights. The only restrictions that they're able to put in place are more code enforcement, noise ordinances, trash ordinances,
occupancy,
number of people allowed. You know, you can't put 15 people in a 2-bedroom house. The fire marshal is going to get involved at that point. So those are some of the nuanced restrictions that we're talking about. But as far as renting your single family home out in a residential neighborhood, Indian Rocks Beach is the #1 place.
and homeowners are going to have to register their house with the city and line up the inspections that are needed in order to get their permit to rent it short term. Last I heard was that what they're going to be doing is implementing a progressive suspension system of like a 30, 60, 90 days if their guests aren't doing what they're told. So noise ordinance, I think was like after 9 p.m. I think having just a conversation, I think it's 70 decibels. I think is what 60. So I Googled what is 60 decibels. It is, if you think about, you know, when you're vacuuming, the sound that your vacuum makes, that pitch, that is 70 decibels. So if people are outside playing music, that type of thing, they will report. So they're being very clear that saying, hey, you need to make sure that your renters know that if they're very loud outside at 10 p.m., you will be reported. So hopefully this will cut down on all the signs saying, we love short-term rentals. We hate short-term rentals. Hopefully that helps because I do know that that's been a little bit of a stopping point for people when they're coming and looking to purchase investment property.
Yep. So why is Indian Rocks Beach one of your favorite beaches?
The community involvement. So Indian Rocks Beach has their local community association. It's called Action. I always get it. It's either 2000 or 6000. I mean, it's Action 2000. But they are the ones who put on all the events up and down Indian Rocks Beach. So you have IRB Beach Fest. Has anybody ever been to IRB Beach Fest? So it happens every spring and it's awesome. So what they do is they have a stage, there's bands, there's food trucks, there's beer trucks, there's wine trucks, there's beach volleyball that's going on. So it is just a fun-filled day for families. So what's great about it is, again, community oriented. So you have a lot of the people that live in Indian Rocks Beach come to it. But it's also great for tourists who are coming to town. They do a St. Patty's Day party. They do an Easter egg hunt. The other favorite of mine is Taste of IRB. So right behind Krabby Bill's, there's a little park called Chickasee Park. So what they do, if anybody's ever been to the Taste of Chicago, little mini Taste of Chicago in a little tank, about the size of this room. But all the restaurants up and down Indian Rocks do a booth, you buy tickets, and you get little like samples of their food. So they do a little band there, again, the wine, the beer trucks, of that park, but they just make it a very fun-filled day. And again, it's just you know, living locally is a great little thing to have for us. And then there's the rentals. I mean, you can always find boats, scooters, paddleboards. They're all up and down the beaches there. It is a great popular tourist destination. I think both Chase and I noticed that when we're looking at, you know, what properties have done in terms of rentals, Indian Rocks Beach is consistently up there at some of the highest rentals, whether it's single family house or a beach property too.
I think lots of people come back to Indian Rocks Beach because there is so much to do in such a compact, small area. It is, in my opinion, the most walkable community that you can be in, or municipality at least.
And there's 20 points of beach access
20 access
up and down Indian Rocks Beach, which is I think the most out of any beach town.
I think you're right. So Indian Rocks Beach also has a quiet, sort of not private, it is a public beach water park. I don't know if you guys knew that, but there is a water park hidden in Indian Rocks Beach, right next to the Holiday Inn, right behind Jimmy Juana's, and it's actually part of the condo association called Harborside at Market 33. It is, you know, a couple blocks off of Walsingham Road. It has a lazy river. It has 3 swimming pools. It's got a beach or a poolside cabana that you can order drinks and food and beverages.
But you can't float in the lazy river with your drink. They'll yell at you. Not that I know.
Oyster bar, right?
Yeah, PJ's or PJ's, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, they have right now.
Yeah.
Very good, but.
So I believe the water park passes are $20 for the day.
25.
25 now, we're probably raising that. If you own a condo in Harborside at Market 33, or if you're staying at the Holiday Inn, you get a free water park pass. It's pretty cool. Like Trish was saying, walkable to over 20 restaurants. There's excellent restaurants and not just little beach dive bars.
The Glossy, favorite Italian restaurant there, right at the Split. So good. Yeah, some of my favorite restaurants there.
Did Coco's open up that?
Almost. I think they are a couple of weeks away from opening. I do know, I think it's either September or October, they are going to be doing like a crab fest with the Coco's in Clearwater Beach. Yeah, they're taking over the world. They own Locals, which is just over the bridge in Largo as well. But they're soon to open. They had to, and you'll kind of say it at that update. So Coco's right here is where 18 on the Rocks used to be. So they've been working on that for about 2 years now. When they went into the space, they opened it up and found a whole bunch of black mold. So that's always fun. So he's like, there's a little bit more renovation than what we wanted to do. But Hurricane Eddie's opened up right at the end of COVID. Permitting took a while. Krabby's just purchased JD. If you haven't been to Pico's and Betty's in IRB, oh my gosh. So I've got my little coffee shops up and down the beach, and I like to get their muffins. Hands down, best muffin up and down the beach. #1 muffin, and their drinks are really good too. And then this did open. I did update. This used to be a Mexican restaurant. Now it is Guilty at Sea Pub and Sports. So that does not fit to them that way. If you have football lovers or sports lovers, they're like, oh, hey, there's a great sports bar right there in Indian Rocks Beach, and also walkable. And oh, sorry, fun fact: the Walsingham Bridge over there, that when you go from Galton to Largo, that is the bridge that when Steve-O from Jackass was in town, thought it was a great idea to put a trampoline in the back of a pickup truck and start bouncing on it and bounce over into the intercoastal waterway and lived to tell about it. I'm like, had he been a couple of feet either way, he would have been jumping into like 2 feet of water.
He has so many good ideas.
Right?
Idiocracy.
Yeah.
So moving south, to the south of Indian Rocks Beach, we have Indian Shores. Indian Shores is the great majority of Indian Shores is condos. There is a small stretch of single family homes sort of tucked back behind everything, and then right on the intercoastal as well, in a very small section. I think there's 11 or 12 houses there that always is one for sale.
Yeah.
Be a full-time realtor selling those 11 houses, I think. Indian Shores is 2 lanes. For the great majority of properties, they are short-term rental friendly. I know there's probably 6, 7, 8 communities right off the top of my head that are staples in the short-term rental community that are in Indian Shores. And we can go over some of those if you guys would like. There's public access and parking at Tiki Gardens. There's 175 spots for public access parking there. One of the biggest, if not the biggest parking lot up and down the beaches.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably.
And I
up
think
there.
they have a boat ramp there as well.
No, but right there, that's down further. There is one at Indian Shores right at where Park Boulevard tees into Gulf, right over on the left-hand side, the south side. There is a drop-in.
So home to Indian Shores is Salt Rock Grill, one of the better seafood and steakhouses anywhere on the beaches. Indian Shores Coffee, which is a personal favorite of mine. I think they serve Black Crow coffee. And I would say they have the best muffin on the beaches, unlike Caddy's. Caddy's Pub is always fun to go to. And we're not going to mention the last one on there because it's trash.
And you ask him, so Chase, have you ever been to Walseth?
Sure have.
Have you know?
Yeah, I went there to eat lunch.
Eat lunch unless you're eating a Bloody Mary.
Well,
That's the only food that they have. And
then
that
they
you'll
should
really
serve this lunch.
That is, and I tell people, I'm like, it is the diviest dive bar I have ever been into in my life.
Really?
Oh,
It's rough.
it's rough. It's bad. Your bartenders are,
Rude.
but they're really took my heart. I mean, I want Carolyn D. I know bartenders. They don't have coolers.
If you're looking
Everything
for
is
a
iced
cold
up.
drink or a cold beer, this is not the place for you.
It's always full of that.
It's the warmest beer on the
It is not, but it's the charm, but you just definitely warn people that, hey, if you do go to the Huff, you know, don't wear white pants.
It's just charming, but you need a tetanus shot when you're done.
Fair, it's fair, but it is near and dear to all of our hearts. And one thing to note about Indian Shores is that all the utilities on Gulf Boulevard are buried. So no power lines going across.
Moving along. The Reddingtons. So, contrary to popular belief, there are three of them. Three Reddingtons. There's North Reddington Beach. There is Reddington Shores, and then there is Reddington Beach, and that's in descending order from north to south. So, North Reddington Beach, easiest to remember. It's the smallest of the three, and it is the most restrictive of the three.
But not the first, it's the middle one. So Reddington Shores starts it off. Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Just to confuse everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll kind of touch on how the municipalities don't like to talk.
That sounds better than that.
Yeah.
So Reddington Shores we'll start with. There's a mix of single family homes and condos. It's actually home to Doubletree as well. The Doubletree Hotel, which has mangoes in it. Yes.
Oh, I think
That's not
North
North
Reddington. No, I think that's North Reddington.
No.
Yeah, I think that's North Reddington.
Uh,
Again, they blur.
Yeah, they really do blur. So that the stoppage point between North Reddington Beach and Reddington Shores is right where the Burrito Social and Dunkin' Donuts and that big new complex is. And that is also why it took such a long time to get that whole complex approved, because you not only had, you know, one municipality that had to make decisions, but you had two municipalities.
But they're going to be turning in from our side of town. That was the whole thing when they were putting the Dunkin' Donuts. They're going to be turning in from North Reddington Beach and our traffic patterns. Ooh. Yeah.
Beach politics.
Oh, yes.
So utilities are buried in the subdivisions, but not on Gulf Boulevard. Boats and trailers are allowed with some restrictions in Reddington Shores. They are not allowed in Reddington Shores Yacht Club, which is primarily the main, I guess, drag, which is just north of Burrito Social and those guys. Reddington Shores Yacht Club is an HOA community. There's a big arcade, 24-hour band, and most of the homes back there are on the water as well.
So there are some must-try spots there. Again, I'm the crazy and the drinker of the, well, not really, but Gypsy Soul's Coffee House is a great little local coffee shop there. Again, Chase mentioned there is Dunkin' Donuts. Cocoa Wood Grill. If y'all haven't been, you guys should go. It is a newer restaurant.
The family's been in the restaurant business for over 30 years. So I'm hoping this one sticks because this poor location has gone through at least 5 restaurants since I've been there. So I'm like 6 times the charm, right? But their food is amazing. They have specials and it's a must try. And I don't know if I'm not a bourbon drinker, but their smoked old fashions are a thing of beauty.
It's a little on the pricey side.
It is, but it's well worth it.
But it's really good food.
Yeah. And then we like our burrito socials.
Yeah.
That's where he likes the tequila old fashioned there.
So Reddington Shores rental restrictions. This is what most community maps look like. All those different colors are all different restrictions on what you can do there, how it's zoned, and what's allowed.
Where'd you get those maps from that website?
So yes, from this website, or the best way to do it, honestly, is Google it. Reddington Shores zoning map, or Madeira Beach zoning map, or Reddington Beach zoning map, and you'll always find something that looks like this. You want to get something official from the city. The only spots that allow short-term rentals are pink in color. You can see they're sort of scattered along here. There is a section, and they're all except for, I think there's 10 or 12 properties on the east side of Gulf Boulevard. Almost all of them are on the west side of Gulf Boulevard. Anything in orange or yellow is restricted to yellow is a 1 month minimum. The peach or the orangish color is 181 day minimum for short-term rentals. So there are very, very few. Most agents, when they're listing a property, will say zoned for short-term rentals, exclamation point, all caps, zone CTF, whatever that is. So there are
they know their stuff.
Yeah, very seldom will you find a property that doesn't have that blown up, because it is a big deal to be zoned CTF in a lot of these communities.
That's the shorter term.
Shorter term. Yeah, shorter term rentals. So CTF is for nightly rentals. It's basically commercial tourist facilities, which is a hotel motel.
So the Reddington Village is what we were joking about before. So this is where Reddington Shores is 173rd and north. North Reddington is 173rd and south. So this road right here is why it took so long for this project to start, because the two cities just could not communicate, get on the same page. But I think now, I mean, all the spots there are filled in. You've got Burrito Social, Pajano's, which is in Indian Rocks Beach, just opened a little pub there as well. There's a salon, there's a nail salon spot. So it's been great for a lot of the residents that live there, along with people who are vacationing down there too.
So moving south to North Reddington Beach. Like I was saying before, this is the tightest of code enforcements amongst the 3 Reddingtons. It is very, very primarily a primary residence type area, mostly single family homes, 90-day rental restrictions on the canals. Doubletree Hotel is here. Sorry, not Reddington Shores. There are, I believe, 2 condo complexes on the Gulf side, on the west side of Gulf Boulevard, that allow short-term rentals. I know Ramsey, number 1 and number 2, is a very big, popular short-term rental destination. They have 2-bedroom Gulfront units. They have 3-bedroom Gulfront units. They're selling upwards of 900 to 1.1, 1.2 million right now when they're hitting the market. And that's right next to Doubletree Hotel. For the foodies, North Reddington Beach has the Conch Republic, a staple. It's been there for a very long time. The Frog Pond, a great breakfast and brunch place. Sweet Sage is a very
eclectic
breakfast brunch place. Has or had signs all over the place. There's a whole big fight with the city about having all the signs, being able to be displayed. Again, politics on the beaches. So
Well, that's how My Happy Place Deli, which is a part of Sweet Sage, that's how that came into fruition. The owner of the Sweet Sage bought that lot that was on the east side of Gulf Boulevard for parking, because their Sweet Sage has maybe 10 parking spots. And they bought it, put the shelves down so they could, have overflow parking. The city said, no, you can't do that in the parking lot. It's not zoned for that. We're not going to allow it. So they fought over that for a while, and now it's another restaurant that's part of Sweet Sage. My Happy Place.
And then in the bottom of the DoubleTree is a restaurant called Mangoes. It's open to the public, and it's one of the very few Gulf front restaurants. You can eat breakfast, brunch usually, but I think it's open for dinner as well. So if you have anybody asking, where can we sit on the beach and eat? This is one of my go-tos, I guess.
And one thing to note with North Reddington Beach, all the utilities are buried in the subdivision. So if you have somebody I've had a buyer who was like, I don't want power lines by it. I think it looks messy, it's sloppy, whatnot. So I steer them down towards North Reddington Beach for that reason, because they all are buried there.
Right. So Reddington Beach, the biggest of the three Reddingtons, mostly single family homes. There's a couple condos at the very, very north end. And there's no commercial at all, to my knowledge. If there is,
yeah, Smuggler's Cove might be I don't know where it ends.
But Reddington Beach is primarily just single family homes, both on the Gulf side and inland. There's a lot of properties that are not on the water in Reddington Beach, and a lot of properties that are on the water. Boats and trailers are allowed with some restrictions. Although Reddington kind of has their pulse on everything, and they're watching pretty closely. Utilities are not buried in these subdivisions. And then the most fun one, there is currently a 181, if you go to Reddington Beach's website and you go look at their municipal code, it will tell you that there's a 181-day minimum rental restriction on anything that is zoned residential. However, they allegedly made the same mistake that Indian Rocks Beach made in 2011. And what they did was try to alter their municipal code after the grandfathering took place. The city of Reddington Beach and their attorney will tell you that, no, we absolutely didn't alter it. But you looked at the vote last time there was an election, they had a great big citywide vote stating, do you support short-term rentals? Do you not support short-term rentals? 76, 78% of the people said, no, we do not want short-term rentals in our community, which was great. But when they took that vote, the state of Florida alleged that they were trying to restrict frequency and duration of short-term rentals. The city attorney says, no, we absolutely weren't. We were just reaffirming something that was already in our municipal code. The state is the boss when it comes to alleging these things, and they are currently in the middle of a lawsuit. So the mum is sort of the word on this. I would certainly not direct my clients to Reddington Beach and say, short-term rentals are free game, you're good to go, because the state says so, but we are in the mix of a lot of headbutting on this. There are a couple of our past clients who are running a short-term rental or an Airbnb within residential neighborhoods of Reddington Beach. They're doing really, really well, and they're having no issues. One of the other biggest issues with Reddington Beach, and most of these municipalities for that matter, is they are really understaffed and underfunded. There is one person who runs building, zoning, and code enforcement for the entire city. One man, one person. He doesn't have a budget, he doesn't have software, he doesn't have code enforcement officers, it's him. Poor guy. So he gets a lot of complaints, he gets a lot of phone calls, and he ultimately says, hey, I don't really have anything I can do, call the sheriff. And then the sheriff will show up and they'll go, yeah, they're allowed to rent it. I don't know what you want us to do. And the neighbors will be a little bit careful on this, but I'm really interested to see how this ends up. and maybe we'll be in lawsuits for years, but when you have a small municipality like Reddington Beach fighting against the state of Florida with essentially an unlimited budget, I don't know how well that's going to turn out.
So what are you saying that you're not saying?
I am not saying anything at all.
So I explain it.
It's wink, wink, nod, nod, fair game.
No,
We explain it to our clients.
Yeah, we try to explain it as best we can to our clients. In that the city of Reddington Beach has some Airbnbs. If you go on Airbnb and you look at the map, they are functioning. However, if you're right next to a neighbor who is there full time every day, all day, and has a watchful eye, they're going to cause problems for you with an Airbnb. They may cause you to not be able to have your Airbnb. Currently, the municipal code says 181-day minimum rental. Now, are there people who break that rule and get away with it? Certainly, just like any municipality or any place we're in. Could that change in the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years? Yep, it certainly could.
In our favor.
In favor of Airbnb. Yeah. But I would be a little bit careful on guiding you. No wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nothing like that. It's just, it is certainly up for debate coming up here. Yeah.
And pretty much do it at your own risk.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what we say. So Madeira Beach is actually one of Chase's favorite beaches, because that was your first beach town
that was my first beach town I ever lived in. I had a cute little single family home off the water. I bought it on a short sale. It was my dad's listing. There were multiple offers on it. And when my dad told the seller, he'd been helping him and kind of holding his hand and guiding him through the short sale process. When he told the owner that there were multiple offers, but his son had an offer on the house, he said, sell it to your son. If, we can get you more money for it. Troy, sell it to your son. So it was really fun to live there for my daughter's birth and the first 3 years of her life. And I have a soft spot in my heart for Madeira Beach.
And you still have the property.
I don't.
Oh.
I wish I kept it.
When did you buy it?
I bought it in 2015 and I sold it in 2018.
So when you pull up the 33708 zip code, you're going to get the Reddington and you're going to get Madeira Beach. So one thing to note is you'll get right over here, you're going to cross the bridge, the Concert Causeway. Know that this section over here is going to pop up. It'll pop up as St. Petersburg 9 times out of 10. So know that the zip code encompasses over there as well. So oftentimes when I'm doing a search, especially if I'm doing an automatic search, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that chunk out. Just wait, because otherwise people are going to get a listing from over there and somebody's like, that's not by the beach. Right, it's not.
What you do is you create a polygon or a circle or a rectangle, and then you click the red dot in MLS and you click exclude this area. It'll put a big red splotch on that and it won't send any properties from that area when you're doing a map search.
And then this over here is just the Bay Pines VA. So that's what they got their own little zip code over there. So it's always good to know, like I said, take that part out because that's like sea towers and Focus VA got all of that over there. It's just good to know because it will pop up, especially if you're looking for short-term rentals, because the area of Bay Pines that's up across from like sea towers and stuff like that, that is unincorporated Pinellas. Which for those of you who don't know, unincorporated Pinellas, you'll find unincorporated in Clearwater. You'll find it in Largo. You'll live it in Seminole. It's in my neighborhood. And what that means to you all is short-term rentals are allowed. So I have 5 Airbnbs in my neighborhood now because we don't have an HOA.
So Madeira Beach is notoriously very, very strict on short-term rentals. Anything green, which is essentially everything on either side of Gulf Boulevard only, is zone CTF, commercial tourists, so you're allowed to do short-term rentals. But most of them are condo buildings or there are some single-family homes that further restrict that. So even if it's zone CTF and you're in a condo building, there may be a 1 month minimum rental or a 3 month minimum rental, or even a 1 week minimum rental in Madeira Beach. All the residential areas, which is all the red and blue on these, are pretty much 90-day minimum or even 6 month minimum rentals. I think I get more questions about short-term rentals in Madeira Beach than any other municipality, just because I think they're currently priced a little bit better than most municipalities, which I'm hoping will change after all these big developments come into play, which we'll talk about next.
So Madeira Beach Town Center. So this is an old map, and we already have the Cambria Hotel is already open, which is Hotel A right here. So it's 8 stories. It's got a great rooftop bar. It's got a pool. It's a really cool place to go see a sunset. And then you have Hotel B, which is across the way. They haven't started development on that yet. That is where Saltwater Hippie is at. The Brown Boxer used to be there. And then, and they're going to be doing, as of the last plan, it's 168 rooms. They were going to have retail space and restaurant space down below. And then 2 to 3 floors of parking as well. And then you have the condo. So condo B is already open. That is the residents of Town Center, and they are gorgeous. Chase's clients just closed down.
Condo B's Harbor at Town Center.
Harbor at Town Center. Right.
Yeah. Harbor at Town Center is currently open. I have some clients who own in there, and they also use it as a short-term rental. It's a 2-week minimum rental at the Harbor at Town Center. They have almost all of their units are, if it's a 2-bedroom, it has a den. If it's a 3-bedroom, it has a den. So all of them are bigger than they feel on the outside. They all have really high ceilings, really high-end finishes. It's a beautiful building. Lots of covered parking, like big parking garage. There's storage facilities inside the parking areas. Wonderful pool, walkable to many bars, restaurants, fun things to do in Madeira Beach. It's a really cool building. And then they have already began construction on condo A, which Trish was mentioning is the residences at Town Center. And those are starting at one point. Well, they sold a whole bunch of them out. They started at $1.05 million. I think they're all large 2 bedrooms with a den, or at least 3 bedrooms. They're all bigger units as well, 1,600 plus square feet, every one of them.
Yeah, the smallest is 1826.
Okay, and then the cheapest currently for sale on the market is $1.4 million. New construction along the beaches has skyrocketed. Everybody wants new construction, and they want to be as close to everything as possible, and so it's really driving prices way up.
And this one's going to be a 1.1 or a 1 month minimum rental, and they do allow for 2 large pets. And then available for purchase are storage units and rooftop cabanas. Back one more thing, Chase. Sorry. And then over here, so behind the where the next hotel is going to go, is they are putting an elevated crosswalk going across the way to the beach right there by Archibald Beach Park. Right there is where Fervodas is right now. So yeah, they'll finally have a crosswalk, so that'll be elevated, which will be fantastic. That light does not last very long. And then they're doing a little triangle cut there right at the top.
So like I said, we kind of talked about building any of the residences. Another development going on in Madeira Beach. This is in early stages as far as approval. The owner of the Schooner Hotel, which is currently a little hotel on the Gulf side. I
always want to be like Schooner Tuna. Anyone who's seen Mr. Mom? Schooner Tuna.
has proposed to put a much larger hotel in that place. And utilizing some of the parking that the gentleman owns across the street to make up for some of that space. There's a lot of public opposition, just like there is with any development, politics up and down the beaches. You know, you always shoot for the moon when you're a developer. You say, I'm going to build 9 stories and have 37 rooms, and then you get yelled at and complaints, and then you really, end up building something that's 5 stories and has 27 rooms instead. So that's currently the stage of the process that they're in, doing public hearings. They'd like to have a restaurant or some commercial retail on the first floor as well, but kind of remains to be seen what is exactly going to be built there.
And is that one located?
So that is 144th, 143rd Avenue, just south of Tom Stewart Causeway on the west side of Gulf Boulevard.
But before the new caddies on the beach.
Yes, before the new caddies. Yeah, exactly.
Right down there, this place going for $4,000 a month. Madeira Beach Yacht Club. Yeah, $4,000 a month. 1 month.
Which Madeira Beach Yacht and Tennis Club is a great spot. So if you have somebody who has a boat and they want to buy a property that has a slip, there some units will convey with slips. Oftentimes, once you own in there, you can purchase a slip from another owner, or a lot of times the owners will rent them out as well. Because I think they have like what 77 slips right there. Yeah. So it's great right there. So Caddies was a new addition to Madeira Beach. So again, if somebody's like, hey, where's a great place to watch the sunset and have dinner, you can send them over to Caddies. So good favorite. And then another big favorite is, okay, right, I'm all about my muffins, right? So the Sweet Brunette little coffee shop. So again, they have some really great drinks, muffins, sandwiches. They do beer and wine there as well. But a great spot to send them to. And then one of the things I can't believe we've never put on here though is the Chicken Church. Is anyone familiar with the Chicken Church of Madeira Beach? So if you Google Chicken Church, Madeira Beach.
That's church by the sea.
Yes, exactly.
But it's not fun to call it that. It's
where my
it's the church by the sea. But if you just Google Chicken Church, so when you drive past the church, it looks like a chicken. And when Madeira Beach started as a small fishing town, and that was the church for all the fishermen. And when they renovated it, they were like, oh, we're by the sea. We'll make it look like a seagull. Well, a little bit of a fail. It does look like a chicken. So that is one of my favorite things is when I have people in my car and I'm like, okay, keep your eyes open. Now look, it looks like a chicken, and it does. So that's a little fun.
Yeah, it looks like a chicken.
Right? And my in-laws.
Oh my God, that is funny.
It's the funniest thing.
And parents went to that.
Yeah.
I heard that it wasn't trying to look like a seagull though. I heard it was that way because that's how they lit it up for the fishermen to know where John's was. That's why the symbols are there.
I think when I was Googling one time, just the history of it. And that's what they were like, the architect wanted it to look like a seagull, which if you see their way, you can see that. Oh yeah. It's the funniest thing.
So some fun things on sort of all the big events happen on either side of Madeira Beach. Not a whole lot goes on in between where all the condos and single family homes are, but right by Tom Stewart Causeway and City Hall and Rock Park, there's a whole bunch of festivals that go on. King of the Beach fishing tournament goes on there. NCAA softball has some events that come to those softball diamonds.
They do a spring break festival every year at Rock Park.
Yep, they do a couple like fairs with carnivals, with rides and petting zoos and all sorts of fun stuff there.
Movies on the beach, which can I just say, if you've never watched Jaws while sitting by the beach, you've never watched Jaws. It is, there's a little bit of a creepy element hearing the water behind you while you're sitting there at night watching Jaws. Definitely mood there. And then of course, as everybody loves to call it, St. John's Pass.
It is called John's Pass.
Yeah. St. John's Pass. I hear it all the time.
Not the same.
Not St. John. But when I talk to people about short-term rental properties and what would rent really well, I always bring up the condos that are down there by John's Pass. Just for the fact it is walking distance to John's Pass. So you've got restaurants, shops, music, bars. So something for the whole family. There is a condo at the end, the beach place. Yeah. that what's great about it is it's right at the end and you don't even have to cross Gulf Boulevard to get to it because you can go under John's Pass, the bridge right there, and get to the other side, take the boardwalk on up. So for people with small kids, that's great. They don't have to worry about their kids darting off across, Gulf Boulevard there. What is it called?
Beach Place.
Beach Place.
Yep. So there's a bunch of condos kind of right in a row there. There's Beach Place, there's Sandy Shores, there's the Crimson, there is Madera Norte, and then there is
Sunset.
Sunset. Yes, Sunset.
Still better.
So those are all short-term rental friendly. They're like 5 condo complexes right in a row, right across the street from John's Pass, and they're awesome. It's still undervalued in my opinion when one comes on the market because you don't need a car to be there. You can be at the Gulf, you could be at your pool, you could be at John's Pass. John's Pass has bars, breweries, shopping,
well, let alone the rental.
4 or 5 restaurants. They have rentals, they have parasailing, they have dolphin tours, they have a pirate cruise.
And then our favorite, the tiki hut. Have you guys ever been on the floating tiki huts? So they've got them in, I know there's one in Clearwater Beach and then one that goes out of Madeira Beach. It is great. So during the day, it'll take you out a little bit through the intercoastal and then they'll take you up to the Gulf a little bit, but then they'll do a sunset tour one as well. And it is BYOB and you can also bring food to it as well. So for the most part, I think you can have 6 people on it. And then they have a larger one that I think now fits 12 people plus the captain. So it's pretty great. You can pop on your music, it connects to Bluetooth. It's a great time and you're out there for an hour and a half. And I want to say it's like
it was cheap.
Like $25 a person. So it's definitely when we have people in from out of town, we're like, hey, let's go.
So you said you listed only 4, but you said there's 5. You said Beach Place, Sandy Shores, Crimson, Sunsurf, and
Madera Norte.
There's been an agent that's been using that as his personal office because he has been doing an open house there, I think, for the past 3 months.
Yes.
Every day.
20 open houses.
It's hilarious. Oh yeah.
Moving south of John's Pass, we're now going into 33706 Treasure Island. And they're insanely wide beaches.
Which
can I talk about the widest beach in all of?
Oh yeah. That was before we moved here, we stayed in Treasure Island with a child I was potty training. Can I tell you how long of a run it is from the water? You're gonna kill me. Don't repeat that I told that story. And you're running all the way from the water all the way back to the Bill Maher because your son has to go poopy. And then you get there and he's like, oh, it's gone now. Yeah, widest beach of all the beaches. And it's funny because that is something that I do let my clients know that I'm like, hey, just FYI, it is the widest beach. So you're gonna do some walking. What is really cool, and I forget at what section in Treasure Island it is, they do have a handicap accessible ramp that takes you from their little boardwalk all the way down to the water as well. So that was something that, if anybody remembers Gators on the Pass, which is now Krabby's on the Pass, they were the ones who actually paid for that to go
wow.
in. Mix of residents, rentals, condos, hotels. There's a little bit of everything in Treasure Island. Once you get closer to Central or 100, you do get a little bit more walkable. You can walk to Publix, you can walk to 3 different bars and restaurants. I know that whole area on Central, where the other Keller Williams Gulf Beaches is located, where a couple of restaurants and bars are located, that is currently in talks of also being redeveloped. They are looking at a monster redevelopment project, something like $25 to $30 million. They're going to be raising those up. They're going to be doing a lot of new commercial space, trying to bring in some big players, trying to bring in a big name steakhouse. It is years in the works, probably years before we ever see anything happen, but just know that all of that has been purchased and that they are working on redeveloping that whole area. It's great how it is right now, but it sure would be nice to have more commercial space, more restaurants, some more residents, that type of thing.
and there's a couple properties right along there in terms of that are the condo hotels that there are go-tos. If we see them on the market, we are sending them out to our clients. So you have Sunset Vistas, which is on the Gulf. You also have across kind of catty corner across the street is Crystal Palms, which also rents really well. Those two especially probably have some of the highest rental numbers that you see. They do have on-site property management, which they take what do you figure? They're like 34, 37%.
You do not need to use on-site rental management. It is sure a convenience, but you certainly don't need to use them. At most condo hotels, with one or two exceptions being the trade winds, you are required to use on-site rental management at the trade winds and at the Fillmore.
Yeah.
There's a couple others like that, but for the great majority of condo hotels, you are not required to be using the on-site management. And you can usually get a better deal with a very competent management company for close to half of what the on-site management charges.
Because typically on-site management, they're not the greatest at it. But like with Crystal Palm and also Sunset Vistas, I will have to say their on-site property management outside of the, everything that they're taking from you. They do typically have anywhere what I think it's like 65 to 80% occupancy, just depending on how often the owner uses it. So they do rent extremely well. So that's the thing I tell my clients is, I mean, it is an area that people want to be at because of the walkability of it. And it's a surefire investment.
So here is a map of zoning for Treasure Island as well. You can see there are lots of different colors on this map. The pink and the purple are short-term rental friendly. The colors are not from me, they are from the Treasure Island website. So the dark orange is actually called Goldenrod. The dark orange minimum rental, I think, is 5 changes of occupancy per year of any amount of time. So if you have a single family home or a condo or something like that, you're allowed 5 changes of occupancy. One of those changes could be 1 night, one of those changes could be 3 months, one of those changes could be 5 days, but they allow 5 changes of occupancy.
And that includes yourself as the owner. You are considered one of the occupants.
So the most obvious question is, who keeps track of that? Nobody.
And is that minimum or maximum 5?
Maximum 5 changes of occupancy. The yellow is 2 changes of occupancy, and those are more on the Paradise Island, and then the Palms and Isle of Palms and Isle of Capri, super hyper residential areas, no condos or anything like that. But the 5 changes of occupancy rule has led to a lot of people getting in trouble and a lot of other people not getting in trouble. My parents lived in Isle of Palms. They lived in one of the Goldenrod areas, and there are multiple Airbnbs right on their street. When grumpy old man, my dad, calls in and says, "There's Airbnbs being run on my street, and they're not supposed to be doing this." They're like, "Yeah, I don't know what you want us to do. We really don't have a way to enforce it."
Well, your mom told me, she goes, they asked, "Well, do you want to file a report about this?" And your mom's like, "I do." And they're like, "Okay, well, it goes on public records. You're going to put down your name and address." And she's like, "And I don't."
Never mind.
Thank you.
So,
So all of Sunset Beach is goldenrod?
Uh-huh.
For some reason, I thought they had short-term.
I know, everybody did.
Yeah, well, because and that's where it falls into. There's not anybody that's checking up on it. However, if you do make that public report, then they could potentially send somebody out. There was an agent in one of our beach classes that her brother, I think, didn't he have like a $15,000 or $20,000 fine from the city of Treasure Island because he got caught doing short-term rentals. So
There's
what we tell everybody
on the beach
yeah,
there are.
and
so there are a couple areas that are grandfathered in Sunset Beach as well.
Okay.
There's a couple hotel motels in Sunset Beach. You won't see that because it's all goldenrod, but there are some that are
Can you point out Sunset Beach, what you're talking about?
Yep. Sunset Beach is kind of its own little 5, yeah, it's that whole thing, Trish.
That's not goldenrod, no.
Yeah, oh yeah, right here.
No,
So right here-
goldenrod is, I thought you said goldenrod's the darker orange.
Yeah, that's the dark
Yes.
orange right here.
Yep.
So that's the goldenrod right there.
Green and
Because you
goldenrod.
got the green.
There's a big boardwalk that goes around the end of that strip.
Yes.
So Trish, right there, what is that, right? Go to the left there, there's that other orange right there, right in front of you, yeah,
Right here?
no, they're right there.
Oh, right there.
What's that?
Dark orange / pink.
That is
Aha.
development.
Like I said, we don't make the colors up. This is right.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah,
Huh?
but that
This
is
sounds-
in development, mixed use core. So.
I thought that was the goldenrod. Never.
Yeah, they had to call it goldenrod.
Sunset Beach is really kind of, it's the Texas of Treasure Island. It's its own community. They think they make their own rules. I really like Sunset Beach. It's a great vibe, but holy moly, there's no parking, none. You're on little postage stamp lots, and you can reach out and touch your neighbor's house.
Yeah.
The homes there are all like one bathroom. Every
Yes.
single
There,
one.
yeah.
It was developed really early on,
Yeah.
30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Caddies on the Beach is in Sunset Beach. You have Katiki's in Sunset Beach. I think we're probably getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I think we are getting ahead of ourselves. We just get so excited.
More new
Right.
development. More new development in Treasure Island. Ocean Club of TI is almost finished, I believe.
Yeah, it's getting there.
They tore down a couple old hotels and they put up this massive 6-story building called Ocean Club. It is a condo hotel. They have only released a few units for sale.
And it's going to be fancy.
Yep, starting at 1.1 million. I think the cheapest one and the only one available is on the 2nd floor.
And
It's now 1.2 million.
before the build started, I had one under contract for 950. And they're like, oh, we just don't think that's a great investment. I'm like, just stick with it. You'll be fine. You'll get a return. And
What-
now look where they're selling at.
Where's this, where's this one?
115th.
So
Avenue.
next
Treasure
to, what's the
It
area?
is next to a bunch of little mom and pop hotels.
Okay, so heading
So-
towards Sunset.
Yeah,
Beach.
so it's between John's Pass and Central, right there.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so before the Billmar and the Thunderbird. But yeah, it's gonna have concierge service, rooftop observation, a lap pool, spa. So if you use on-site management, you have access to the concierge. If you do use your own property management company, you'll lose that, but.
Here we were talking about Sunset Beach. That now.
You did say there's units available in those.
There are.
There are a couple, I think there's one right now. If you call the agent who has the exclusive listing on the building, he'll tell you that there's maybe 1 or 2 more, but the developer is keeping a bunch of them.
Really?
And he's keeping most of the prime units for himself.
Yeah,
All the 6th floor, all the 5th floor.
because they have their on-site management and rental pool and all of that.
More fun things to do and restaurants to recommend in Treasure Island. Middle Grounds has been a staple for a long time in Treasure Island. It was called something else before. It was actually Big Al's Pancake House, I believe. It's actually a secret menu item. You can order a short stack of pancakes for dessert. They will still honor that tradition.
I can't believe they sold the little boozy coffee shop.
I know,
But
I
it's
love that.
And now
Love that.
it's a Dunkin' Donuts.
I was so upset about that.
Shocking.
Um,
And then, of course, the famous VIP Mexican restaurant.
BRGR is another restaurant that is right on the Gulf of Mexico. It's in the Treasure Island Resort Hotel. It's on the, I think it's second floor. BRGR just serves sort of bougie burgers and fries.
Yeah.
Okay, they have a really nice bar and it's a great atmosphere.
You've got the R bar. So I believe they still do like once or twice a week the all you can eat crab legs. And then oysters there as well.
Sloppy Joe's is right on the Gulf of Mexico as well. And that is in the Billmar Hotel on the 1st and 2nd floor. Captain Bill's is now closed down. Yep. Sea Dog Brewing is right around the bend after you get, it's actually the last thing in Treasure Island. It's right on the water. You can pull up by boat. It's a brewery. It's a great place to watch football on Sundays. Decent food. Yeah, it's a fun place. Other sort of niches about Treasure Island.
So you've got if you haven't heard, there is a drum circle that is in Treasure Island. They are,
very highly politicized. Some people despise the drum circle, and other people are like, it is my way of life.
And then you have Standing Ovation Sand Festival that happens there, which, I have to say, festivals in Treasure Island, because that beach is so wide, insane.
Go park trucks out there, set up tents, set up vendors. It's awesome for when you have a big festival.
Absolutely. And then they have the kite festival that happens in spring. And then the newest thing, it's been there, but it just really opened to the public, is the club at Treasure Island. So it is, and you turn on Central right before you go into Paradise Island. It's $20 per day, and you can rent cabana, access to the pool and restaurant as well. And I think you can pull up there by boat too.
Moving on, St. Pete Beach.
Picture on that.
It is the largest city and one of the highest tourist destinations of all the barrier islands. There are a whole bunch of little sections of St. Pete Beach. It's hard to just say St. Pete Beach, and it's not St. Pete's Beach, it's St. Pete Beach.
It's so hard. They're like, yeah, I want to be in St. Pete. Okay, are you talking about like St. Petersburg, or you're talking about St. Pete Beach? Because it's interchangeable. I'm like, where are you looking at?
Lots and lots of hotels in St. Pete's Beach, primarily hotels and a couple of condo hotels on the west side of Gulf Boulevard. A few single family homes with some condo mixed in on the Intercoastal Waterway. It is definitely the largest beach where you're going to find the most waterfront single family homes. You're also going to find quick access to the Gulf of Mexico from St. Pete Beach in a couple of different ways. One, you can go all the way south and go around Sunset Beach or Paso Grill, I'm sorry. The other way to get to the Gulf is through Blind Pass, which is also a quick access to the Gulf.
But you have to have a little tiny small boat there, Blind Pass.
No, not at all.
Yeah, you can't put a sailboat on the Blind Pass bridge. No, you can't, the Johns Pass bridge.
Sure, but if you're on Blind Pass,
if you're on the other
Blind
side,
Pass, you go right.
Yeah.
That's where some of the biggest boats of all.
I thought you were talking about the other side. I'm like, you can't get them.
Not the bridge.
Not the bridge.
Nope. So it is great boating water. You're going to have lots and lots of great big boats, big, wide, sailboat water, yachts, everything like that is going to be at St. Pete Beach. Some of the fingers or neighborhoods in St. Pete Beach are starting north to south: Three Palms Point, Bahia Shores, Brightwater, Punta Vista, Boca Ciega Isle, Bella Vista, Don Cesar, and Vina del Mar. And then there's a free beach trolley that goes all the way through St. Pete Beach, and it is free for all St. Pete Beach residents.
Yeah, you just give the number a little call, and they'll pick you up and take you home. And I think they've expanded to Treasure Island, so now I think it's St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island. You just call the number of the card, and all you have to do is tip them. So there's a lot of fun things to do in St. Pete Beach. You've got Corey Avenue Sunday morning market, which is really cool. And what's nice is there's some little shops there in Corey Avenue as well. You've got the Polynesian Putter Mini Golf, and then the St. Pete Beach Rec Center. What's really nice, as you can become a member of the rec, actually when you live there, you're automatically a member of the rec center, so you can go and work out, that type of thing. And for people who are in from out of town, I want to say it used to be like a $5 a day day pass, but now I think it's up a little bit more. But people who are just staying in town for like a week or so can do a day pass there and use the facilities, which is really cool. And then for the foodies, 1200 Chop House, if you haven't been, it's really good. Seating is very limited. They don't take reservations, and they probably fit maybe 40 people in there, if that. So get there early, but the food is to die for. You also have Spinner's Rotating Dining Room, which is in the United States. I believe there's only 22 rotating dining rooms in all the United States, and Spinner's is one. It is now called the Bellwether Beach Resort. But yeah, it's the they got a new chef during COVID, and they went very farm to table. So as much as they possibly can, they source from Florida. So all of their beef, their vegetables, their beer, their wine, as much as they can, they do from the state of Florida, which I think is really cool. And then one of my son's favorite is Focheezy's Twisted Melts. Started off as a food truck here, and then they opened up Focheezy's in St. Pete Beach, and now they have one in downtown St. Pete. For those who like Hell's Kitchen, he was the owner, was a contestant on season 4 and 5 of Hell's Kitchen. He had a heart attack during his first season, and Gordon Ramsay invited him back for the next season. But when he came back, he opened up Focheezy's, and it's off the chain. It's very much 80s rap style graffiti, but their sandwiches are ginormous. They have specials. Like there was one that was the Japanese egg roll melt, and it literally had an egg roll on it. And yeah, you share when you go. It's open until I want to say 3 a.m. And the people there were telling me that it basically turns into a dance bar after midnight because everybody comes in, they're hungry. They had to replace like their seating and stuff like that because it's gotten punctured for people standing and dancing on their chairs. But it is definitely a spot to check out. The food is really good. And then Agave Mexican restaurant, and then Sandbar Bill's at the Bon Air Resort is a local favorite down there. Some of the best burgers up and down the beach.
Some of the best beach bar hangouts are also at St. Pete Beach. You have the Postcard Inn. It's a destination for people internationally. They host weddings at the Postcard Inn. Jimmy B's, which is right next door. It is a monstrosity of an outdoor, indoor beach bar. It's right on the Gulf of Mexico. There's probably 3 or 4 different bars there. You walk through the
Beachcomber.
Through the Beachcomber to get to Jimmy B's. It's really, really cool if you guys haven't been there. Then a little higher on the upscale, Hotel Zamora. And they are actually going to be really, really, really upscale because I think they're putting 15 or 20 million into the hotel to completely renovate it. And Hotel Zamora is an incredible rooftop bar right across the street from the Gulf of Mexico. Another great spot to watch sunsets. And then taking it completely all the way from up here to all the way down here by Mahappers, we have the Undertow. Very
special rubber duckies down the little rubber ducky.
I like that. Yeah.
You can't park there unless you bought a pass to park there. So it's hard to get to if you're just driving down the street. Definitely take an Uber because you can't park here unless you're special.
Are we getting rid of this slide or is this big no-no?
So it's kind of pause, really, if you will. So the Correa Avenue development was going at the end of Correa Avenue on the east side of Correa Avenue. It's gonna be a big, huge development, restaurants, retail space, hotel, residents, and the developer just pulled out. So they are now shopping this development. So if you got a guy that that wants to take on a big old development,
or like 15 guys maybe.
Yeah,
the million
15 guys. Everybody's got to
That's gonna be a lot.
Whoops.
The very end of civilization for the beaches is Paso Grill. If you're not familiar with Paso Grill, it is a historic and incredibly expensive part of the beaches, but rightfully so. It's almost like you go into a time machine when you go down to Paso Grill. It's really, really unlike any of the other beaches. There's one way in and 2 ways in, 2 ways out. It kind of turns into a one-way big circle. There's a lot of traffic on the weekends, even though there's not a lot of parking, but it is very, it's very quaint, I guess is the best word for it. There's a lot of businesses that have been in business 60, 70 years. There's a bunch of bars, a bunch of restaurants, a lot of little retail shops. Very much like Sunset Beach and Treasure Island, very small, narrow, confined lots, not a lot of parking, but that's part of why it's so charming. Paso Grill is awesome. really cool.
I think what brings a lot of people there is they feel like it's not very transient. That people are, it doesn't feel like you're walking next to tourists. It's not really busy. Is the biggest comment that I get from people on why they look there.
So all of St. Pete Beach there's no rental area in this chapter, but it's all 30 days.
It's all 30 days.
In residential neighborhoods, yep. St. Pete Beach does still have, like all the other municipalities, CTF. They actually have
So there are some kind of like condo motels.
Yes, for sure. Yep.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, there are a couple. Vistas on the Gulf is one on 40th.
I'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this in Paso Grill you're talking about?
No, these are in St. Pete Beach. Yep, sorry. Paso Grill, to my knowledge, only has one very small condo hotel. Otherwise, Paso Grill is not super short-term rental friendly.
Yeah.
St. Pete Beach has the task force and has the ability to and the willingness to put a lien on your property.
And they're 30-day minimum.
30-day minimum. Don't mess with them. Don't try and be sneaky. If you're going to be sneaky, do it in Treasure Island or Remington. Not St. Pete Beach, not Madeira Beach, not Clearwater Beach. So we're gonna.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, this is kind of our favorite part of the class. You're more than welcome to ask some questions, but we are done going through all the municipalities, and now we're just going to talk to you about what it's like to be a real estate agent, navigating Gulf Boulevard. Just a couple of tips and tricks on the beaches.
So when you're navigating Gulf Boulevard, the Tom Stewart Causeway in Madeira Beach is kind of like your central point. It's also called 150th Avenue. So when you go north of the Tom Stewart Causeway, all your address numbers increase, and when you go south, they decrease. And then all the properties that are on the Gulf side of Gulf Boulevard are even numbers. And everything that's on the intercoastal side are odd numbers. So if your navigation somehow stopped on you and you're like, oh, frickin' frack, what am I going to do now? You know that if you're going, let's say, for example, 19417 Gulf Boulevard is in Indian Shores. So I know because it's 417, I know that's going to be on the intercoastal side of the street. That's really super helpful because I've had that happen. And then I also know that 19417 Gulf Boulevard, it's going to be located between 194th and 195th Avenue in Indian Shores. So again, it helps me locate where it's coming up on the road. And then when you go through the narrows of Indian Shores, so if you're going, Indian Shores, right before you get to Indian Rocks, the streets start over again at 1st Avenue North and go up to 28th Avenue North, where IRB ends. So IRB decided they wanted to be a little different and restart their numbers over again. And then Bel Air's like, and they start over there too. Yeah. So we're gonna start you off at 1st Street. So that makes it really kind of fun because Bel Air Beach and Indian Shores share some of the same address numbers. And if you're not paying attention, you'll be driving, think you're going to go show something in Indian Rocks Beach. You're not paying attention, and now you're in Bel Air, and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm not where I'm supposed to be."
Even more fun than that, when you were working with lower numbers, say 3200 Gulf Boulevard, please make sure which municipality that's in, because there is a 3200 Gulf Boulevard in St. Pete Beach, and there's a 3200 Gulf Boulevard in Bel Air Beach, and they are 21 miles apart. And it is not a quick drive to go from St. Pete Beach to Bel Air Beach when your only access is Gulf Boulevard. So,
and even more awkward when your people are behind you, you park, you're like, oh, okay, so this just happened.
So double check which municipality you're in. And like Trish was saying, there are addresses that share addresses in Indian Rocks Beach and Bel Air Beach. So you might be going to 1300 Gulf Boulevard, which is a condo complex in Indian Rocks, but your nav might take you to Bel Air, and that condo complex doesn't exist in Bel Air. So fun little
it makes it a good time
thing there. More fun beach facts. I like to point out that
Fun fact.
The great majority of the beach communities are golf cart friendly, but what you will need is a license plate, brake and tail light, parking brakes, windshields, and seat belts. There is a new law that you must carry a what ID?
G9.
Yeah, that might have been
I don't know what that is.
that might have been my typo.
Maybe you must carry an ID or a valid driver's license or a permit of some kind.
Government issue, thank you, yeah.
There you go.
Oh.
There are also
Together.
dog-friendly beaches all over the place. Starting all the way up north at State Park Honeymoon Island in Dunedin. Honeymoon Island is a dog-friendly beach. Right underneath the Bel Air Bridge is a dog-friendly beach. Sort of right before you get over the Tom Stewart Causeway, right next to Madera Beach Fundamental, there's a dog-friendly beach. There is a dog-friendly beach on the intercoastal side on the boardwalk next to Land's End at the very end of Sunset Beach. When the tide permits, there's a little beach there. In Paso Grill, although nobody wants anyone to tell anybody about it, there's a dog beach.
Same location as the Sunset Beach one.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When we've done this at the Gulf Beach office, whenever we mention that, whenever people that live in Paso, they're like, shh, we don't want anybody to
Don't want
know.
anyone here. And then Port DeSoto, the other state park, allows dogs as well.
And then we've got the trolleys. So you have the Jolly Trolley that operates in Clearwater Beach and a coastal trolley that takes you up to Tarpon Springs, which is really kind of cool. You have the Sunset Beach Trolley that operates from Clearwater Beach to Paso Grill. That runs about every 20 to 30 minutes. Like I think 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then 5 a.m. to midnight Fridays and Saturdays. I do think that I believe they have an app for that. And then the new Sunrunner, which is why we put the map on there for you, that runs from downtown St. Pete to Treasure Island to St. Pete Beach, which is really kind of cool. And then our bridges.
There are 7 access points onto the barrier islands if you're not on a boat and you drive a car like everyone else. The Clearwater Memorial Causeway is the furthest northern point, other than Honeymoon Island, obviously. Then there's the Bel Air Causeway, some of the best views.
And some of them, I was going to say, has anybody ever walked the Bel Air Bridge? That is the best bridge to walk on, and I'll point that out to clients as well.
I disagree.
It
I almost
is.
died on the Bel Air. It was on a day like today or yesterday, it was 90 degrees and 1,000% humidity.
So who in their sane mind walks that at this time of day?
I was just gonna say, I do have a condo for sale right next to the Bel Air Bridge, if anyone has a Bel Air, just saying, it's right there.
Awesome.
Yeah, you park at Panera. It's a 3 mile round trip if you take it all the way to Gulf Boulevard and back to Panera. And I tell you what, your glutes will be on point.
Don't do it in July.
Do it at 7 a.m.
The Indian Rocks Causeway, which is Walsingham Road. Park Boulevard Bridge, which is Park Boulevard, and that happens to be a drawbridge.
And that's right by my house.
Tom Stewart Causeway, which is also 158th Avenue. Treasure Island Causeway, which is central. The Corey Causeway, which is a drawbridge as well, and that sort of ends up on Corey Avenue. And then the Bayway Bridge, which is sort of right before the Don Cesar and sort of goes through Bayway Isles.
Towards Sierra Verde.
Sierra Verde, that area as well. Yeah. And then the 3 main direct Gulf access points are the Santee Bridge, which is the Clearwater Memorial Causeway. If you're on the northern side of the beaches, you're probably going to access the Gulf through the Santee Bridge. If you're on the southern part, maybe stopping at Indian Rocks, Indian Shores, or Reddington's, you're probably going to want to take a boat through Johns Pass. And if you're further south than Johns Pass, you may want to take Blind Pass or all the way down to Paso Grill.
And those are big ones that when you have boaters that are, people that are really big in boating want to be out to the Gulf, it's good to know where those access points are so you can direct them to properties that are a little bit closer to like John Pass or, it's again, maybe up towards Bel Air, Indian Rocks. Because depending on where you're at to get out to the Gulf, it could take you because of having to go slow because of the restrictions. It could take you a good 40-45 minutes to get to the Gulf.
Yeah, especially if you're in Reddington Shores or North Reddington. Like you can troll around and have fun in the intercoastal waterways, but if you want to get out to the Gulf, it's a haul to get out to the Gulf from the Narrows or the Reddingtons. If you don't want a shack for $1 million on the water, there are alternatives for you. You can buy a big, beautiful house not on the water, and you can park your boat at one of the marinas. You can pull your boat into one of the public boat ramps, or you can join one of the boat clubs. Freedom Boat Club is nationwide. In fact, I think it's international now. There's a couple of locations internationally. And Freedom Boat Club allows you to
Carefree's international.
Okay.
Yeah.
Freedom Boat Club and Carefree allows you to basically show up at the marina or at one of the locations, say, I'm taking this boat out for the day, and you pay your monthly membership, and it's renting a boat. You don't have the expenses of owning a boat, and it's a really cool option for a lot of people.
I believe they guarantee you like at least like 2 weekend days a month. And then you can pick up another if it's open. So let's say if you've already done your 2 weekends, you're like, oh, I also want to go out on Sunday. You can call if it's available. You can pick that up as well. And then during the week, pretty much they're really flexible on that. So it's nice. And what's great is if you have the Freedom Boat Club here, you can put it on pause. So for the snowbirds, they can pause their membership. And then also if your membership's here in Tampa, but then you're going up to Lake Michigan and there's a Freedom Boat Club up there, you can jump on a boat up there as well. So it's really kind of cool.
There are a ton of restaurants that are accessible just via boat. Bars, restaurants, you can just pull up your boat. Sometimes there's a valet type person who will help you tie up your boat. Sometimes you're on your own. But there's a huge list in here all the way from Clearwater Beach all the way down to St. Pete Beach and even Tierra Verde.
I have to sadly say you have to cross out in St. Pete Beach, the top one, Sea Hag Bar and Grill, has closed their doors.
Yes, that's right.
What about Gators? Is Gators still around?
Well,
So
it's called
Gators
Krabby's on the Pass.
Yeah.
Krabby's, okay.
But still lots of awesome options here.
And my favorite though is the one at Treasure Island, the public supermarket.
Oh,
You can go grocery shopping by boat. If you
yes. Yeah.
Really?
You guys know that?
Yeah.
Publix has a boat ramp.
Uh-huh.
Go grab some chicken
Well, that is
wings.
cool.
Yeah.
grab some chips.
That is cool.
City Park over there.
Yeah, there's a park over there. Yeah.
Treasure Island Publix. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't even know there was water behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is one at Madeira Beach. It's right behind the McDonald's. So potentially you could park your boat there, and there is a Publix there, but it's not like how the Treasure Island one is. And McDonald's won't bring it to you. You have to go up and get it.
So the last slide of our day, and then we're open to take lots of questions. We kind of want to touch on condos versus condo hotels. Because we talked a lot about short-term and long-term rental restrictions.
Is everybody here familiar between the difference between the two?
A little bit, for the most part. Okay. So a lender looks at a condo and a condo hotel in an entirely different way than even a consumer looks at a condo versus condo hotel. But primarily a consumer just wants to know what the minimum rental period is. That's all they care about. If you're able to rent it for a week, something like Sea Breeze in Madeira Beach, or it's another great example, Ramsey condos. They're condos, they're not condo hotels, but they allow you to rent out for 1 week or less. Usually a traditional lender, Fannie Freddie, conventional loan, 25%, 30% down will get you one of those condos. However, a true condo hotel, like some of the other ones we mentioned, would be Sunset Vistas, Crystal Palms, the Bilmar, Trade Winds. It's a true condo hotel primarily because there is an on-site rental management company. Check in, check out. You have to use them, or sometimes you don't have to use them, but they are They're right there, they're located on the premises, and lenders hate this.
And a lot of times you'll see resort in the name, like the Sunset, this is beach resort, barefoot beach resort. That's kind of your first clue that it's a condo. Yeah, that it's not a traditional condo. But you'll be able to see it, in it, it will, like in the description, a lot of times, the legal description will often say hotel in it.
Now, most of your lenders that we're working with have a product that will allow you to still purchase a condo hotel, but it will not be a conventional mortgage. You will not get a 30-year fixed loan for the most part.
I thought that's because some of the condo hotels restrict how much the owners can actually stay in it, right?
Most of
Yeah,
them.
some of them do. Yeah,
I would say vast majority have it in, they'll have it in their rules and regulations that an owner can only use it 14 days out of the year,
Right.
21 days of the year.
Not
really.
quite.
Yeah.
Still own it.
Yeah, you
You
still,
own the entire thing entirely,
Yeah.
but there are restrictions on whether or not you can
Yeah.
stay there for.
They want it to be a vacation place.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was exactly how, when they were building it and doing the condo documents, that was its full on intent to be a condo hotel. I think the most, and I would say there's a small that allow, they're like, owner to use as much as they want. So, if, for example, Harborside or Marker 30, that one isn't it 3 months,
90 days.
90 days? You can check out for a day and then you can come back and stay for another.
Would be
90
one
days.
that's like that.
Yeah.
There is an excellent lender who only lends on condo hotels. He's done thousands of them, and his name is Adam Ellis. His bank is Bank of OZK, Bank of Ozark, Bank of OZK. I don't have his contact info.
I do.
Chris probably does. You can Google him, but he usually is a sponsor of this class. I don't know if you.
His phone number, if you need, is 727-418-9136. And his email is aellis, ELLIS, @ozk.com. He is pretty much, he is our go-to when it comes to loans and condo hotels.
But that's all he does. So he
That's-
doesn't do a conventional loan. He doesn't do anything. He does all adjustable rate mortgages. They're all held in-house by Bank of OZK. And he's done probably 15 months for us.
Does he deal with international buyers?
I don't know.
International,
I don't know.
I know.
Email him and ask him.
yeah, the lending process. is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff is in-house, so I would assume he would be able to work out a plan with them like that, but I'm not positive.
He also, just a side note, if you have somebody with vacant land that needs a vacant land loan, they will do it for 25% down. So he does vacant land, and he will carry construction loans as well. And then condo hotel. He's one of the guys that when you look at a lot of condo hotels, a lot of agents up and down the beach know who Adam is, and it will oftentimes have in realtor remarks, contact Adam Ellis for financing options.
Thank you all for coming
Thank you.
today. We really appreciate it.
You guys have that we didn't cover that you wish we did?
How are, I would say, I mean, just, how are the floods, what's the flood situation on the barrier on Hayes? How much is that impacting your business right now or concerning your consumer?
So, flood insurance is always a question.
Not on the mainland.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's mainland and barrier
Well,
islands.
yeah, I'm guessing it's much worse.
So currently, I mean, it's sort of old news, but it's always ongoing. So FEMA has for a very long time been the only go in town as far as providing for it, because everyone else was so much more expensive. FEMA is a government-backed flood insurance program. It's called NFIP, National Flood Insurance Program, and they persistently and consistently lose money. It is basically a government subsidy, right? So they want to avoid that. So what they have started doing is raising flood insurance policies, and they're slowly doing it, but it's pretty aggressive as well.
I think it was a 3% increase.
18%.
Up to 18%. So if you have an existing, they're only raising it 3% each year until you get to that 18%. Now, if somebody were to
18% per year.
I bet.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna bet.
Troy, you set it up.
No, it's a 3%. No, it's 3% each year until you get to 18%.
It's on, it's on.
But a new customer, I mean, a new buyer coming in, buying a property on the intercoastal could be at the risk on
of the 18%. So from when everything was first rolled out, they said that, so if somebody didn't have flood insurance on a house, or the seller didn't have flood insurance, then that new owner would be taxed, they would be that 18% high. Because that's what they said, they didn't want anybody over the years to have to go instantly to that 18%. But that's what
I think he's right, and I think it's part of that recent bill that passed that said they can actually increase that to 40. There was a bill.
So there are also differences in whether or not you're a full-time owner occupied person versus whether it's an investment property or not. There are also differences in your base flood elevation, what your elevation certificate says, and if you're in a 1950s built single family home right at ground level with a negative base flood elevation, there's different rules for everybody, but flood insurance is on the rise. Now, as flood insurance starts becoming more and more unaffordable, more and more players are going to want to get a piece of that flood insurance gain. So competition rules everything. When the National Flood Insurance Program and FEMA says it's going to cost you $12,000 a year to insure this single family house that's a ranch style in base flood elevation of 4, somebody else like Lloyd's of London or some other national flood or some other flood insurance carrier is going to come in and say, we'll do it for 8,000. So competition is going to start rolling in. The other nice thing about using somebody who's not NFIP is NFIP is capped at $250,000 in coverage. It will not issue, it doesn't matter if it's a $4 million house or a $700,000 house, your max coverage is $250,000 for flood insurance. With private carriers, you're allowed to do a lot more coverage for flood insurance. It's a lot more expensive, but it is an option. So I guess the basic answer to your question is get lots of flood insurance quotes. Some companies are better at quoting the same flood insurance program than others. I personally use Florida Strategic Insurance. Their owners are some of the very, very best at interpreting new flood insurance maps and language, doing LOMAs, which are basically a letter of exception for a property. Believe it or not, I just sold a property that's right on the water up in Newport Richey. It's a waterfront home, a single family home. It was built in 2003, and it does not require you to carry flood insurance. It is a dot in the middle of a giant flood map that is not required to carry in flood insurance. I'm like, this is obviously wrong. There's no way this is a flood zone X or X500. When I ran it by my flood insurance experts, yep, you don't need flood insurance on this. Wow, it's the only waterfront property I've ever seen.
There's a queue in the community right next to me.
Yeah.
And everybody over there, if you look at the floodplain map, it's AE or BE.
Yep.
And there's 4 houses in the middle of the community that are on the water.
Yep.
And they are X because I know it for a fact because it's one of my clients.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this house and the one next door got a LOMA. It's a letter of exception for carrying flood insurance. And they actually rated that particular property outside the bigger flood map. They can't do it for every single property, but when you write a letter and you have your flood insurance carrier do that, you can get a letter of exception.
Is that the letter that's in the amendment that's in the IMAP? You look up the tax record, there's a bottom of where it says FEMA, click on that, and it has the amendments and it says
a map.
But
We'll
it's,
have the
but it
map
has
of-
amendments on the same piece of property. That has, like, last year, it was AE, and this year it's
Yeah.
X.
No.
Well, that
So
was from the
that's a new planning,
Yeah.
new mapping.
when they remapped.
So FEMA just remapped all of Pinellas County, 18 months ago,
Yeah.
a year ago. And that would be the brand new flood maps. We're talking even more specifically, they are, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so for example, my house is a perfect example, is with the remapping, a section of my house came out of the flood zone. But, and I'm 2 houses away from the coastal, but but then part of it is still 18.
Like her mailbox
So-
is in flood zone.
So I could have a new elevation done and then put it in for this alignment letter to say that, hey, her house is out of flood risk. It just depends on where your foundation hits based on your elevation. So you can, it all just depends on where your house sits on that flood map. So if you look at it, you're like, ooh, I wonder.
You're on a barrier island and not.
I'm
No,
not.
she's-
So I'm not.
I was confused.
Yeah, I am in Seminole, right over the Park Boulevard Bridge. So my house is like the third one in from Intercoastal.
Got it.
Yeah. But I think one of the biggest things to keep in mind, especially when you're talking about flood insurance, and the biggest thing are the houses that have not been renovated, because everybody's gonna go in going, oh, I could do this, I can do that to the house. One thing is with FEMA, you can, and there's a little bit of changes per municipality on what you can pull in permits to improve on the property. So you can only do 50% of the house's value. So they're taking land out of it. So they're just like, hey, this is what the house is worth. Even like back in like 2016, I sold one down in Bella Vista, and the house was, I think the value of the house was under $80,000 because it was that bad. The man, it was one owner, and it was.
You're gonna run into this all over the Barrier Islands because the dirt may be worth 700,000 and the house is worth 100,000. So if you want to renovate anything on that house, you're going to only be able to renovate 50% of the structure's value. So if you have a $100,000 valuation on your structure from the FEMA appraiser, you can only spend $50,000 renovating that house at a time. And 50,000 doesn't go very far anymore, you guys.
And St. Pete Beach has put in further city restrictions on it, that it's going to take that maybe the first year you can only do this percentage, second year can only be like maybe 20% the first year, 30% the next year. So they're staggering it on what you can pull. So it's like the permits and everything. And I know one of the Reddington, same thing, they won't let you pull another permit. Like some will let you, so you get your permit for your roof. Now you can get it reassessed. Now your value is a little bit higher. So they'll let you maybe do your kitchen and bathroom. But the Reddington, you only have one permit per year.
So do they have a value they place on that, or if you have a contractor that says, I'm only charging them 50 grand to do?
It's a FEMA.
Oh, okay, so they have a.
You have to have a special FEMA appraiser come out and give you that valuation.
Yeah.
Even on the work done, like my contract says, I'm gonna do all this work in the south, I'm only charging 50 grand to keep it under.
Yeah, they'll play you for that. Be like, no,
Because
a
they-
kitchen remodel and that not
Yeah.
gonna be 50 grand. No, they gotta be really realistic numbers. So part of the reason that I know this is one of our good friends and past clients just renovated an 8-unit hotel in Reddington Beach and Reddington Shores, I'm sorry, and had a hell of a time. I mean, he had to itemize how much the kitchen cabinets were, and how much the tile work was going to be in the flooring, how much, and he spent $800,000-900,000 renovating this place.
Even the stairs.
And I don't know how he ended up getting that done, basically because we had to have 8 separate FEMA permits, 8 applications, 8 appraisals, one for each one of the units.
You have to report those things that don't require permits. You have to report your flooring and.
FEMA, yeah. Yep. Tough.
Okay, wait, I'm sorry, I'm new. Why is it, can you only renovate up to 50% of the structure's value?
Because it's in a flood zone and FEMA has to insure that property.
Okay.
So what they don't want is you going in and renovating, spending $200,000 renovating a property in a flood zone, and then it getting wiped out by a flood and them having to give you all that money for it.
They want people to tear down and build up.
They want people to tear down the house, build up out of the flood zone, and then you can spend as much money as you want on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
For the tear down.
Yeah.
No, then there's as long as it's on stilts.
They're also, so we had another past client of ours take his single family ranch house.
Yep.
Put beams underneath it, raise it up, 16 feet in the air. Completely renovate everything. His flood insurance went from 4,800 annually to 800 annually.
How the heck did he do that? Did you watch that?
It's wild.
It's wild.
It is wild. I'm like, there has to be.
I didn't even know that
It
was
looks so sketchy.
Well, there's one in Madeira that Chase and I were checking out a house next door. And it was middle of being raised, and it was a block house. And here I was sitting there like, there's no cracks on the outside. Like it.
They do it so slowly.
A lot of
so
Sunset Beaches that way.
Yeah. On
My
stilts.
best friend's grandmother had a house, and when we used to go there as kids, they were almost all 1 stories.
Yeah.
And now you go there and they're all 2-story.
Yeah.
Everybody just lifted them up.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like,
Who's the contractor that does that?
There's a couple of them.
Is there?
Yeah, it used to be a lot cheaper of a process than it is now.
Yeah, I bet.
I think when he started it, they quoted him something like $80,000 just to raise it.
Oh my God.
And then, a bunch of cosmetics and things
That's
after
probably
that. But look, that's cheap. That's really cheap
Yeah.
now. I think it's more than double that.
To sell the condo town, you don't need your securities license, right? It's not like those places in Innisbrook.
Nope, absolutely not.
and sometimes it's hard getting rental numbers and that type of thing from them, but. Yeah, and one thing too is what I tell my clients is like when you're looking through the rental histories and all of that, because a lot of times we're looking for the last year or two in gross rent and then year to date, depending on who's managing it, they are going to fluctuate greatly. You'll see one that's in John's Pass that might have grossed $30,000, and the agent's like, it makes great money.
Cash cow.
Yeah, and you're like 35. Really? That's not even cover the condo fees.
Right.
And then you'll have other companies that do a really great job of renting out the properties, marketing it, that type of thing. So I always tell my clients, because they hang their hat sometimes on their numbers, and we're like, look, they're not all property management companies are created equal. It depends on how good their housekeeping staff is, all of that. So find good property management companies and have them in your pocket for your clients. That is the biggest thing, is have a few that you can recommend. Because there is the good, the bad, and the ugly. There was one that was really good. I mean, they were absolutely fantastic and got bought out. And I had a client, the seller called or emailed the CEO over LinkedIn to get the numbers because the general manager of the Tampa Bay area was not being transparent with us and would not get us the information.
Won't name any bad names, but we will name a good name.
Yes.
Azul Bay Vacation Rentals in Treasure Island is excellent. Azul Bay Vacation Rentals. Yeah, Azul Bay. AZULBAY.
And they charge up to 45% or 30%.
For most property short-term rental managers, it's 20%. That's pretty much straight across the board. You will have some do it for 18, 19%. You'll have some do it as low as 15%. I haven't seen anything lower than that for short-term rentals. But I have seen as high as 37.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, in fact, we figured out the trade winds was, I think it was like 53%. All said and
Trade
done.
winds ends up being
And Belmar too.
3 or 57% of everything.
Yeah.
So a room at trade winds may do $76,000 a year in gross rental income, and the owner will net $26,000 by the time you're all said and done.
What's wrong with that picture?
But their vacancy is very low.
Vacancy is very low.
Right.
Yep, very, very. What's that?
They might have 8 or 10 units at that rate.
Yes.
So
Yes.
compounded.
Sure.
And then they're banking.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Great job. Great job.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Tell us.
So worth the 2 hours?
Yes.
Holy crap, yeah, yeah.
You guys need your own show.
Well, it was on hiatus. We do have a podcast that we're getting ready to start back up again. So yeah.
Did we get a
should let us
clarity
know,
on the bet there?
We'll put it out there.
Yeah.
Who won the bet? We'll call that show.
Well, we're gonna have to
yeah.
reach out to Evan's boss. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.